So listen, the Montreal Canadiens have a big decision looming with juraj SLAFKOVSKY. And yes, this was mentioned by Marc Dumont on Montreal Hockey Now because, again, this is something that it's not just the ice time. Marc Dumont mentions in the article the ice time and how, as far as first round picks, first overall picks, he's been crazy underused in terms of fourth line deployment and ice time so far. And it's hard for him to gain his confidence and feel like a productive player in the NHL when he's constantly getting line mates and fourth line minutes. But that's not even what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the World Juniors. And yes, I'm back on this again because the last video I made about this, it was split. I would say about 50-50 people who wanted to see him go to the World Juniors and then people who didn't. I'm on team send Slaf to the World Juniors, and I'm open about it that part of it is definitely selfishness. Like, I want to see him potentially against Shane Wright and or against Connor Bedard. I want to see him just light this thing up alongside Dvorsky and Philip Meshar for Team Slovakia. But to me, this is such a big decision. And he was asked about it in the media, and he said, hey, that's a decision for Kent, not for me. And you could see it in the way he reacted that, yes, he does want to be in the NHL, but it would be incredibly special for Juraj to represent his country at this year's World Juniors, especially it's going to be in Halifax. It's going to be just crazy down there. It's going to be unbelievably just madness in Halifax. They're going to love it. It's going to be like their Super Bowl for the 2.5 weeks that the World Juniors are there. And yeah, it's a big decision because on the one hand, you want him playing against men. You want him building his confidence in the NHL, right? You want him to continue to grow and develop in the NHL. On the other hand, if you want to talk development, like, look at it here. Like, if you send him to this 2-week tournament, the World Juniors, and he goes and wins the MVP or and he lights it up, right? Then he's coming back with so much more swagger and confidence, just like he did when he came back from the Olympics, the Olympic MVP. Remember that? He came out of that with a whole new swagger, confidence. That was probably what put him on the map to maybe get picked first overall. You could have a repeat of that. But on the other hand, there's a risk because what if he goes to the World Juniors and only puts up one goal? What's that going to do to his psyche, his mental? I talked about this with Shane Wright about the other day. The difference to me with Juraj is that when Juraj comes back to the NHL, whether he lit it up in the World Juniors or not, which, again, make no mistake, he should light it up as a for first overall pick and everything that's happened here with Juraj. To me, when he comes back, he's going to get a shot in the NHL and at the very least with Laval to develop. And he already has that proof that, like, okay, I can score in the NHL. I mean, like, I'm not lighting it up, but I can put the puck in the net. And make no mistake about it, Juraj's had his flashes. Okay, we talked about this the other day. I don't think Juraj's looked terrible by any means. I don't think he's looked great, but I also don't think he's looked terrible by any stretch of the imagination. So, to me, whether he goes to the World Juniors and is the second coming of Wayne Gretzky or not, to me, he has that proof, that confidence that, like, okay, I've produced in the NHL. I've proved a little bit to myself that I can hold my own in the National Hockey League. I can build on that. Where Shane Wright has one phantom assist in the NHL. I understand now he's lighting up the AHL, which, good for him. That's really going to help him in his development. But it's not the same for Shane, in my opinion. I think Shane would really, really need a confidence boost and really need to be able to prove to himself that he can produce at an NHL level, whereas Juraj has already proven that to a certain extent. Now, of course, he needs to build on that, needs to prove that he can do it consistently. But Juraj also has that thing of, like, hey, I've only been playing like third, fourth line minutes. I've gotten a couple of shifts on the power play. I've gotten a couple of shifts in the top six, if you want to call it that. But in the grand scheme of things, Juraj really hasn't been given much of an opportunity to go up there and produce as a top six player. And again, you got to earn that. But at some point, you have to let this kid get his confidence, get his looks, right? So if Martin's not going to do it in the National Hockey League at any point, basically, then you got to send him to somewhere else where he can, whether that's Laval or the World Juniors. I seriously think a 2-week tournament like this could do wonders for him. All of a sudden, he's not playing against grizzled vets like Ovechkin and Crosby, which that's what he's like. He's played Pittsburgh, what, 2-3 times? Like, he's seen so much of guys like Crosby and Malkin. All of a sudden, you send him to the World Juniors where almost everybody's going to be younger than him there. It's a different beast, man, where all of a sudden he's the grizzled vet and he's walking in and he's got the experience and he's the one who can walk around with some swagger, right? So I don't know. I just think that this is a really big decision for the Montreal Canadiens. And it's not like teams who were, chasing for the playoffs and looking at their players who are junior eligible and saying, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want there to be a risk of injury. I think this is different because the Habs are all about development right now. And yes, they're in the business of winning. Make no mistake about it. I've talked about this before. I love seeing the Habs win, even now when they're supposed to be tanking for Bedard in quotation marks. I don't think they should be doing that, just to be clear. I think development is key. And this is something where if you send Juraj off to the World Juniors for a couple of weeks, he's got the same risk of getting injured that he does in the NHL. He's gotten injured in the NHL already. He doesn't have a higher risk of injury going into the World Junior. Stop it with that argument. So I think that you can send him over. You can have him replaced for a couple of weeks and experiment with some other line combinations. Maybe give some looks at some guys that you want to maybe trade near the deadline. It gives you some clarity about what else you have as far as healthy scratches. Like, for example, Michael Pezzetta is a complete question mark wild card right now. Like, what is he? Where is he going to go? You know what I mean? So you can maybe get some more clarity on that front. And I just think it's the right move. But hey, big decision coming. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. As usual, of course, I want to hear it. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.